finally talk to y'all and get the rest of your story that you weren't able to tell here.
My name's Jeff. In early part of December of 2021, my family contracted COVID-19. It's a pretty big battle. I remember calling the ambulances and being rushed to the hospital. Once getting there, I remember being wheelchaired to the back part of the ER, and I had a face mask on me, and I passed out. Nurse came up, rubbing my chest, and I came to her, I'm like, what's going on? And she said, well, you're not getting enough oxygen. So when she turned away, I pulled my mask down so I could breathe, and I could breathe a lot better. And then I was yelled at for that. Long story short, so much happened in a period of a month. December 30, 2021, I lost my mom, former registered nurse of Intermountain Healthcare, a great nurse. Because I was on a 10-day quarantine, I had to have my own family bury her because I was not allowed to even go to her funeral. I wasn't allowed in the hospital to see her really advocate for my family. January 6, 2022, I lost my middle and closest brother, Justin. And then January 16th, I lost my last and final family member, my brother, Jason. I buried those two on the same day. What I seen is nothing short of disturbing and disgusting. If I was to rate the healthcare right now, I'd say less than subpar. Being around hospitals my whole life, getting my checkups, I always looked at them as a gold standard. My family had no pre-existing conditions. Never drank, never smoked, hardworking farmers, ranchers, and just weeks prior to even going in the hospital, my brother and I were hiking the Boise foothills from Veterans Hospital all the way up to Bogus Basin to get ready to go skiing. We're avid hunters, hikers, fishermen, skiers. I wish everyone could see what I seen when I walked the fourth floor of the ICU unit. It's pathetic. They lie in waste. I have messages on my phone, text messages and calls from my family calling me while they were still in a cognitive state saying, get us out of here. They're not doing anything. Get us out of here. Pleading, begging. I couldn't do anything. I started treating myself with ivermectin. I bought multiple oxygen tanks, nebulizers. I had done my research. My family was very educated when this hit from the very beginning. Started treating myself with budesonide, albuterol, provenol, basic inhalers. Denied to my family, by the way. See, they put you on oxygen and then they BiPAP you, and then if it's bad enough, they go ahead and vent you. My family never requested being vented, but they did it anyway. And it works much like a dehydrator when you do jerky. It's like your lungs are like a sponge. It's pliable when it's wet, Then when you put it out in the sunlight, it hardens up. It's not made for a long-term treatment. But yet, when you put them on there long enough and they're immobile, what happens? They die. And during that process, along the way, they're telling you, quality of life. What would you do if what would they do if you were in their shoes? I went in there to see my brother the last 3 days when he was passing. Poor hygiene. I talked to some nurses. Some nurses kind of were not allowed to say, I get it. But you could tell. I've requested all medical records. I have all the DVDs of all the treatments. There's a statute of limitations that lasts up to 2 years. I have 13 months. I've talked to many attorneys, family members. I'm pretty mad, pretty livid, pretty sick. And I hear today what these folks have went through, and who wants to go to the hospital? And a slap on the hand, or you better listen, or we're going to get you. It's not good enough. Accountability and COVID-19 are one and the same. You gotta sever the rut. People should be held accountable for this. It's a joke. Now, I'm not saying there aren't good staff out there, and are good nurses and people that want to do the right thing. A shot's a choice. It's a choice. You have a right to have it or not have it. I chose not to. But I believe with the protocol I followed with Vladimir Zelenko and Stella Emanuel and Malone and Cole and Wool, and I could go on and on and on. That's what saved my life. I know it did. I got pictures to show it. And I had it worse than any of my family members. It wasn't until my brother Justin that filled out the paperwork to leave the hospital. We went home both that night. They kicked us out. It was snowing that night. And they yelled at us. The doctor came out and said, you're not allowed in the hospital. Security guy came out and gave us a blanket while we sat on the bench waiting for a ride to go home. I gave my brother shoes and my coat because when we went in, you go when you're sick, you go. It was an emergency. So we waited out in the freezing cold, out in the elements. Norco met us that night, put us on oxygen, and I was smart enough to understand. My mom raised us kids to understand the basics of BPs and O2s and high-grade, low-grade fevers. So I had an idea what was going on. I took my oxygen off, and I double-lined my brother just to save, try to save his life. So I called that night the hospital again. His oxygen levels dropped, and he ended up at the hospital, and it was the last time I got to see my family. It's no joke. I know we're not the only ones here. I hear it all the time. And I'll be honest, and I'll just say this. Whitney Fire Department, the police department that came out there that night, first responders, had shown more love for my family than the hospital. They were in tears. They said, we just want to check up on you, Mr. Stoldorf. How are you? How's your family? I said, you're looking at it. I'm the only one left. So, at the end of the day, this is all good news and data and all that, but until something's really done, it's just, I pray to God it goes away. I pray to God every day it goes away, but we'll see. We'll see what this fall brings.